Hi, I'm Mark Geary, and I am the arbiter of all that is humorous. You're listening to You Think That's Funny, the podcast. You can interpret that statement as a question or a declarative statement. Please go to youthinkthat'sfunnypodcast.com to look at the links appertaining to this week's episode. On this week's show, we've got Stephanie Weber. She's a writer and now published author whose debut novel, Nothing Nice to Say, was just released on Weasel Press. She has written for Reductress, Slate, and National Lampoon, and she is also an accomplished performer, which leads us into this week's disclosure that Stephanie is a former Lincoln Lodge cast member, and I find about 70% of the things that she finds funny to be funny myself. Hello, Stephanie.
Hello, listeners. How's everyone doing today? And by everyone, I mean you, Mark Geary.
Oh, you know me. I'm a bundle of positivity, as usual.
Yeah, you really are.
I know.
Based on the kind of aggressive title of this podcast, I know that you are very positive right now.
No, I think it's a good thing to leave to the listener, right? You think that's funny, accusatory, or you think that's funny?
Yeah, I guess you can hear it either way. I guess like that's a glass half full, half empty situation, and I'm choosing half empty by choosing the accusatory tone.
Yeah, you see,
so you think that's funny?
You think you and I would connect on that? We would just stare at someone and go, "You think that's funny?" Anywho, let's talk about what you think is funny, and we're going to start with item number 1, which is over-the-top explosions in movies. Explain yourself, Stephanie Weber.
I mean, what is there to say? Is there nothing sillier and goofier than a giant fireball coming out of the smallest of the biggest explosions? I just love this stuff. So I know that you know about Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, and that's something that I love so hard. And I think that I was instantly sold the first time I saw it in the intro because there were so many explosions. There's everything explodes left and right, and it just makes me laugh really hard. There's this movie called Pumpkin that is a very strange satire with some now questionable stuff in it.
I've seen it because I worked with the lady who was the casting director for it, so I sought the movie out.
Christina Ricci, yeah. So she
cast it.
I actually really like that movie, and I did rewatch it kind of recently, like maybe like a year or two ago, and I was like, yeah, okay, so it is a little questionable, but I still think it is watchable. But there's that scene where the like leading hunk, I'll call him, drives his car off a cliff, and the explosion that comes, like that was the point where I was like, this movie is definitely a comedy that we're not supposed to take seriously, because the explosion is so over the top and big, and that sells me on that movie. That's where I'm like, that's a comedy because that explosion doesn't match what happened there. Thoughts, feelings.
Are you laughing at the like ridiculousness of some dude director going, yeah, that makes sense. That sates my testosterone, or is it just like the goofy stupidity of it?
I don't know. I think it is like there's something in there that it is supposed to be masculine, right? Yeah. And I hope that the people that are putting these giant explosions in these things are poking fun at, action movie and high octane explosions like Transformers or something. Which those movies, like, I don't retain them at all. Like, I don't follow action movies. Like, they come in and out of my brain for the most part. So maybe the explosion is the one thing that I am connecting to that. And, I'm talking right now and I'm realizing maybe none of this is supposed to be funny. And I am making fun of the idea of people exploding. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. It's called You Think That's Funny.
I think it's funny. I think it's funny.
So do I, actually. I mean, this is one of the 70%. The one that sticks out to me is Predator. There's a nuclear explosion at the end, and he just flies off in a helicopter. Like, wasn't that nuclear? I thought I saw a mushroom cloud in Predator, right?
Yeah, so that's funny. It's like that's supposed to be there. I just saw this movie Underwater with Kristen Stewart. It is so bad. It's so horrible. I know former Lincoln Lodge favorite TJ Miller is in it. And I hate to say this, but he is very bad in it. Everyone's bad in it. It's a bad movie. But at the very end of the movie, I don't, hey, sorry. Oh my God, I'm spoiling it. Come at me, cancel me. But she's like staring out and they're at this underwater space station or whatever the fuck. It doesn't make sense. And she's like staring at like a Cthulhu creature coming at her. The more I'm saying this, the less it makes sense. But that's the film. And she has this monologue where she's just like, I don't know, man. Sometimes you just have to blow shit up. And then that's the end of the movie. The end of the movie is Kristen Stewart saying that, I think, seriously, and then everything blows up.
Maybe it was a metaphor for her career and life. I don't know. Maybe she was sneaking it in there.
She's a good actress, but I feel like only when she's one of those people where like persona gets in the way, yeah. I think, because her persona is just like eternally sexual but like cool, and like I actually don't even care, you know.
You remember when she got busted for infidelity a few years ago, and then Kumail made this comment. He said Kristen Stewart even makes infidelity seem boring, which I remember that comment. Like, it's a goodie.
I remember Donald Trump in particular, before he was president, was very upset over her infidelity in a way that was like, yo, dude, you can just say you like Twilight. Like, it's I'm sorry, Bella and Edward are not actually together. I'm sorry.
And what about the twin to the explosions? Wow, I didn't think we'd get stuck on the explosion. I thought explosions would be the quickie, the thing.
Here's the thing, course. You just gotta interrupt me and tell me to shut the fuck up.
No, I will just keep going. What about what goes with the explosion now, and I feel like Hollywood finally acknowledged this, is the cool slow motion walk with the explosion in the background. Like, I feel like that's now done to the point. It's like, yeah, we've all seen it taken the piss out of now.
I think we're done with it. I think in general, slow motion is garish.
Yeah, but they're using it on...
Do we all agree?
No, they're using it on like reality programs now, like trying to make a chef look like a gangster. Like, you know, the tracking shot where the camera goes by and they cross their arms and look at it like, I'm a hard ass chef.
It's the slow motion. Yeah. Okay. So when I famously, as I did just previously, name drop myself, I did that before the podcast started. I was on a true crime show over the summer, and they made me do like what they called them profile shots, but they were those shots where I think it's like slow motion introducing you. And thankfully, like they didn't use them, but it was embarrassing. I felt so self-conscious filming them, because they just had me like look over my shoulder and then slowly look to the camera. And then look down and slowly look up.
Like in CSI something, like, look at me.
Yeah. And it is like that thing where you said they're using them in like reality shows or, you know, a true crime documentary. And it's like, this has no place. Stop it. I'm not a badass. No one's a badass here. That chef that's, I don't know, pickling that onion isn't a badass. Like, well, I guess he is, because he's with knives all the time, but.
Yeah. All right, we're going to park explosions. It was just a good one, that, because I thought, you know what, that's not something that a lot of people are picking out. The next one...
I don't think that people would think I thought it was funny, but that's... I contain multitudes. So...
Actually, Stephanie, as the disclosure, I imagine you watching most movies going, that's not funny.
I definitely have ruined comedy for my boyfriend, which I know is the case for anyone who dates someone who doesn't do comedy. Like, or sometimes now we'll watch something and he'll go, okay, who in here do you know? You know, it's so you ruin it in either direction.
Okay, good. All right, let's go to the next one then. You can do a little bit explaining of this one. Background actors.
If you don't think a background actor is the goofiest job in the world, then you can see yourself out, is how I take this. I am obsessed with watching background actors in movies, because inevitably you will find one that either looks at the camera or is doing action that is so fake, like drinking an empty glass, or even just like miming something that isn't there, that I'm like, how did, so no one caught this, and now it's in like, what's that, what was it, Atomic Blonde was a movie that there was some bar scene that I was obsessed with watching this background actor talk to nobody. They were like, the shot starts and you're like, okay, they're talking to someone off screen, and then it panned backwards and there was nobody there, and they just that's all just in there. That's in there. Everyone can watch it.
Have you seen Sally Forever yet?
I I watched the first episode of it.
Yeah.
Should I keep going?
Oh man, if you're talking about gross out, it amps it to the next level. Julia Davis is one of my favorite comedic actors, and I've watched everything she's in, but there's a scene where she's meant to be a background actor that just is incredible. She totally screws the whole thing up in it. She's like trying to tell the director how the background actor would behave and stuff. So I think you'd enjoy that. You can't get it. It's like British TV channels are absolutely. Go on, carry on.
It was on HBO, I think, because I saw the first episode of that, but I didn't continue.
Oh, I pulled it off of Prime. But Sally Forever, there's a scene there which is like everything you're talking about. Incidentally, you kind of ruined me now, because I start looking at them. Like yesterday, I watched.
You're welcome.
Yesterday, I rewatched Much Ado About Nothing, which has like 1 million stars in it, right, from the 90s.
Oh yeah, it does.
And I wasn't even like. Because it's all annoying Shakespearean talk, you kind of zone out in bits. Like, okay, can't understand what.
Okay, that's really disrespectful to your culture.
Not my culture.
I just want to point that out.
Set in Italy, and I was watching. There was like Richard Briers was giving a speech, but I was watching Brian Blessed and Imelda Staunton, who were like either side of him, because it was this long, boring Shakespearean speech. And you could almost see, like, like Imelda Staunton and Brian Blessed are like, massive actors. And you could see it was a challenge for them to be like, okay, what the hell would I be doing while this boring bastard is droning Shakespeare on? You know what I mean?
It's hard enough for the actors with lines to figure out something to do while they're delivering lines. So to have background actors do anything. I have definitely been a background actor a couple times, and pretty much was cut out of everything because I'm very short. I'm very short. So there have been, like, I was in an episode of Easy as a background actor, not as a real person, and I was like at a table with all these huge men. So you can't see me at all. But I honestly was like, whatever, I got paid. It's fine. It's almost better that I'm not visibly in it, because now nobody knows where I was in that scene.
Okay.
There you go. And I was pretending to talk to very huge men who were telling me that they were real actors and comedians.
Oh yeah, I bet
and I was like, sure, we all are. Sure.
Is it like, is it when you are an extra? Is it like Extras, the Ricky Gervais show?
Yeah, everyone is trying to make it. Yeah. I've done it twice, I think, only in my memory. And there was one time where this guy was like taking pictures with all of us backstage. And I mean, he was an extra, but he was taking pictures of all of us. We've never met him in our lives. And he kept posting them on Facebook and being like, actors on our grind, actors hustling. And he got asked to leave because he was doing too much and he wouldn't follow the direction, which was to just walk in the background across an office.
Yeah.
So he was asked to leave.
Okay. Yeah. All right, let's move on to the next one then. Wow,
wait.
this is all business. This one.
All business.
So you can explain this one out a little bit, because this one did throw me through a little bit of a loop. Cartoon skeletons.
Yeah.
Dish.
Ish.
Dish.
Wait. They are funny. Okay, everyone remembers the Merry Melodies from Disney, right? With the skeletons dancing. I spent so much time trying to learn and recreate that dance once, just for fun. I think cartoon skeletons, they make me laugh so hard, because for some reason there's a lot of old school skeleton cartoons from like Disney and all these different little animated, I don't really know, studios. I don't know what you want to call them. people that cartoon, and they're so silly. They're playing xylophone on their bones. It's just like pure joy, but it's got spookiness, and it's everything. It just like sings to the child in me who watched Nightmare Before Christmas every single day. You know, it just like sings to me in a way.
But why? Why? I mean, I did a lot of research, the science. I try to do some science, right?
Yeah.
Because it's important. Science is important, right? Well, in
Is
certain
it?
parts of America, it is important.
Thank you. Not
So
my science.
here's what I found on kids' cartoons. Kids'
Yeah.
cartoons. This was from, I think it was from Vice.com. So this is just for the
Okay,
bros
that's
listening.
real.
Just for the bros listening. Kids' cartoons can be a support treatment because they incorporate themes like community order, friendship, family, teamwork, and that the theme that good always wins
Yeah.
over evil and the sun will come out tomorrow. That's what Dr. Laurel Steinberg, a New York-based psychotherapist, said. They can help restore
Mm.
optimism and give someone a break from worrying, blah blah blah. I think we could all guess it that. But my point of interest specifically to your thing is why the skeleton part of cartoons? Why not like cats getting whacked in the head with a frying pan and then their head goes frying pan shape? The
Because that's
skeletons.
hack. That's
Yeah.
hack. You want?
Ah.
Oh, you're gonna show me a couple of animals hitting each other on the head, bopping each other,
Yeah.
wearing pants, no shirts. No,
Yeah.
thank you. I want to see a naked ass skeleton, and they're working together. That's community. When the skeletons are dancing together, the skeletons are playing in a skeleton jam band.
Yeah.
How funny is that? They take out their own ribs and they start playing, and they make guitars and stuff. Like
It's the high
this shit is
art.
so
It's the high
funny.
art that's pulling you in.
Yeah. Well, I
Okay.
also just I love Halloween. I always have loved Halloween. So I think there's just like a very it's something that's still if you put on a little black and white skeleton cartoon, I'm gonna be enraptured. Like that's why
Hmm.
I put that down there. So I was like, it still makes me laugh. It still makes me smile.
Hmm.
The little skeletons having a good ass time in the graveyard. How fun is that? I
Okay.
was a very lonely child. Should I say that too? Should I add that part?
I don't know about that.
Graveyards are very fun.
Okay. Great. The fun in the graveyard. The merriment is in the death.
Yes, there you
Okay.
go.
All right. So here,
There you go. You know.
let's get to the one we really connected on. The one we
Mm-hmm.
really connected on. So you said the audition sketch from Mr. Show or anything that makes fun of theatre in general. Can I just say
Yeah.
before, because I'm gonna shut up and let you go on this one.
I'll just go off.
Mr. Show to me was the first American sketch show where I thought, and the last, interestingly enough, where I thought, wow,
Wow.
Americans understand sketch now. They finally get it. And I feel like Mr. Show is just buried. It's like it should be up there front and center as this was the apex of American sketch shows. And it's even the hip kids anymore barely mention it. So anyway, that's my Mr. Show
Interesting.
comment. But theatre,
Mm-hmm.
why do we want to lampoon it?
I think because it's so serious. I mean, I think about that. Like, I love theater. I'll definitely still go to a play, even though they're stupid and bad. But I think that
Or just all
it
of
takes
them? 90% of them are stupid and bad? Or
no, that was a little. That was what one might call taking the piss. What I just
oh,
said.
okay.
That's I of course there's a lot of plays that are bad, but there's a lot of plays that are truly transcendent, and I love them. But I'm also being paid to write a play right now, so I can't say anything bad about theater ever. But I think that having said that though, like I think like if you spent any time acting, which a lot of people that do comedy did, or you were involved in theater in some way, you're making fun of how seriously people took it.
Yeah.
Like even being a child in community theaters and stuff. I mean, it's community theater, but these like hack uh theater directors who are actually like daytime dentists, and now they're just
Yeah.
like directing Bye Bye Birdie in a garage, would make me feel like I'm going to be discovered if I don't say my one line right, like that
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like it's so serious. I have to go to every rehearsal. And that's like the audition is so funny because that that actor, not only he takes it so seriously by saying, you know, can I use this chair? And when they answer him seriously, he's mad at them. It's his monologue, it's his chance. But the way that the people watching the audition react also, like what he's saying is poignant, is so funny. He's saying nothing. He's saying nothing. And isn't that the point? Isn't that the point? You know?
So waiting for
and I
Guffman.
think we're making, yeah.
Waiting for
I think
Guffman
a lot of us
big.
too. Yes, and I like, but I think that's it. Like we're making fun of, because a lot of this stuff that does make fun of theater, it's making fun of the people in charge. You know, it's kind of making fun of like the needy actor, but it's mostly making fun of like the drama teacher, the people holding the audition. You know, the choreographer who's taking it very seriously, and like it a lot, and you know, in almost all those cases that we see those characters, you know, thinking of Waiting for Guffman, something like that, it's like that guy is not successful, but he's successful to that small group of people that it's kind of like a cult. Like he's made them believe he's the guru, right? And so they do, and that is so real. Like we were told this woman that did our community theater would just verbally abuse us every day, but we were like, well, she's from New York. And I don't know if she was. She just had a slight accent and she was very old. And she told us that she met Ben Affleck once. And that was enough.
Did she wear a Laura Ashley dress and have a lot of scarves that she would appear in?
No. She was a very small old woman with giant glasses. So it was very fun.
I feel like New York is riddled with small, angry old women with giant glasses. It's kind of their natural resource, right?
That's why we believed her. We're like, she looks the part. And she would every day, I mean, we were teenagers and she would tell us how like we're never gonna make it, our wrists are fat, just like any stupid thing where she's like, well, good luck out there, you don't know how to act. And then it's like, okay, well, now I have to try harder. Okay.
I always like the opening speech from Fame. Do you remember that? Irene, was it Irene Cara? No, she did the theme. Who does the opening from Fame where they go, you want fame when, well, fame costs? Maybe you're too young for that, right?
I have seen Fame, but I was a child. I was like 10.
Go back and look at the opening to Fame. It's hilarious. They're all there in like leotards, and she's like, "You're gonna die trying this."
That is the shit they would say to us. I mean, I remember like me and my cousin were in some Fiddler on the Roof production, and we were background actors, and we thought that we would have a little fun. So we were doing some goofs backstage, and then my cousin was like, I'm gonna leave and then like enter again and pretend I'm a different character. Like we were fully just having fun in rehearsal. But she stopped the whole production and she stood up and said, well, now I have to teach you how to act. And then she had all of us teenagers sit down and she's like, who among you think of yourselves as actors? And she was like, good luck trying to make it in musical theater. Do you all think you're going to study theater? Do you think you're going to make it on Broadway? And we're in like suburban Chicago. And she's like, well, I have news for you. None of you can act. And we just took it like it was encouragement. Like that's the shit that's so funny to me. And I wonder if any of it's different now, because I feel like people maybe are more cognizant of the idea of bullying a child, but I don't know if that's true. But the way, and like she would just, I remember like having to do costume fittings and she would throw dresses at girls and be like, oh no, this is a skinny girl's dress, and give it to a different girl and be like, no, you can't, those hips, you're not going to be able to wear this. Here, Danielle, this is for you. Like giving everyone an eating disorder. I was one of the skinny girls, she said, though, so I felt really good in that moment.
Good. There is a positive. There is a positive.
I think it's important. I don't want people to think I was, you know, just constantly harangued. You know, I did have a moment of feeling good when I was given a skinny girl's dress.
Well, talking about high school, that brings us to the next one. Now, you're going to have to really explain the illustrative point to this, which is, and the only reason I wanted to get to this one is because this is me. This is people that don't say a lot, show a lot of emotion, who are put into a situation where they're forced to show that emotion. Explain your anecdote, because I found it amusing.
Well, one of my like favorite comedy shows is the cartoon home movies. And I think Coach McGurk, the character of the soccer coach, is this character, is that person that like they never say a lot. And maybe it's a Midwestern dad thing too, of just somebody that's like really, you can see them stifling emotion down. And the best example for this is what I told you. I had this high school gym teacher named Coach Zyke who never spoke, and he looked like the South Park character of Satan, where he's just all top heavy and then little legs, and he wore shorts all the time. So he looked like that, and he never spoke. And one day he got really excited because our school was huge. It was absolutely huge. And so we had a pool, which is pretty cool and fancy. But it did mean that literally every day we swam. So I do hate that. But because they had to use it. They paid for it. So one day he was like, we're going to play watermelon football. And this is the most emotion he's ever shown, was truly just telling us we're going to play it. And it turns out what that is rubbing a watermelon in Vaseline and then throwing it into the pool. And we had gym first period. So we're the first people he does this to. He's so excited. And by excited, I mean he sounds like this, where he's like, it's going to be great. I'm going to throw it in the pool and then you guys are all going to catch it, like that. And so it instantly, of course, like someone tries to catch it, it slips out of their hands, instantly hits the side of the pool and cracks open. And so now there's watermelon, it just chunks in this pool, and we have to get out of the pool. And he just like stared at it with his hands on his hips and went, I only brought 2 watermelons today. And I think about that all the time, because that's all he had to say. And then we were silent. We all got out of the pool. We sat on a bleacher and silently watched him with a net get all the watermelon out of the pool. And that's all he had to say. And I knew he was so sad. He was so disappointed. His internal monologue is like, why did I only bring 2 watermelon? Like, why didn't I think this was going to happen? I'm so pissed. I want to throw the other watermelon. But all he said was that. And that's beautiful. I love that.
It's almost like he was questioning his entire life. I never prepare. Yes. I'm stuck here in this Midwest high school. It's just all was repressed so long that it came out in one volcano.
It came out. And I feel like other teachers have like their unit they're excited about. You have your history teacher that's like, I love talking about the Middle Ages. Maybe I'll dress up in a costume. They get excited because it's their favorite thing. Yeah. And it felt like for this gym teacher who has to do the same thing every day, the watermelon football was his one treat, and it just didn't work out. That makes me laugh really hard still.
Yeah, I love remembered. As someone intensely interested in comedy, I love like recalling a certain look on someone's face or something and be like, holy crap, that was 30 years ago, and that's how funny it was, right?
It was so impressionable. And it was also like those moments where, I mean, we were all in high school, but that adult is a person, where we were all like, oh, wow, he's going through something. Like we all had to no one spoke. I mean, I also had a high school teacher who it was my choir director, and we were on like a field trip, and he said that he wanted to drive the bus. There was something where he's like, I'm going to drive the bus. I got this. I'm going to drive the bus. And we instantly got into an accident, and he dealt with it. And he was similar personality, where he just like never spoke. And he got on the bus and went, I did get into an accident. I did the right thing. And we don't have to talk about this again. And we never did. I don't think any of us told our parents that happened. I don't remember ever talking about it again with anybody. I think I remembered this past year, and I texted someone else that was there and was like, do you remember when Mr. Boltman got into that bus accident? Sorry, I just said it in a podcast. But he did. And he was like, yeah, I never told my parents. Like, none of us ever spoke about it, because we realized that, wow, this person, they want to punch all of us, but they won't. They're suppressing it so hard.
Love it. All right, so we're going to skip actually to the last one, because I've rambled a little bit here, but I know this is one very close to your heart. So you've got some things to say. Here's where this is our 6th episode, and we're going to get cancelled shortly after, when Stephanie tells us about the funny things she likes about Cubans.
I would first like to hear what you think is so funny about Cubans.
Me? I don't think anything's. I went to Cuba a couple of years ago, and I love the place. But then Europeans
Yeah.
have been going there for a little bit. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was mostly just trying to get to bait you into saying something offensive, but it didn't work out. But so I am Cuban. I'm half Cuban, and
Then
this is
why is the
even.
German name?
I know, right?
Oh,
My dad's American, so
okay.
although like I did one of those ancestry things, and it doesn't say that I'm German. Isn't that crazy?
Hmm.
Anyway, it says like fully Irish and Spanish and Moroccan descent. But my okay, so Cuban culture is very funny because Cubans are very brutally honest, and they'll say the meanest thing to you, but they'll say it like, "Oh, but you should know that." And that is also very funny. Like my grandparents, if you would see them. They didn't live near me, so I would see them like a couple times a year. And especially when I was a teenager, I remember them saying, they would come up to me and be like, "Oh, you have pimples all over your forehead." Like things like that are like, "Oh, hello. Oh, look, you gained weight. Hi." And then if you were upset, they'd be like, "Well, you have pimples all over your face. Like you have a mirror." And that's just like a fun. Their answer literally is like, "It's the truth. Es la verdad. It's true. You know, you're fat. Like, oh, I'm sorry, your clothes are lying to you. Like they're right." It's like, "Oh yeah, I know I got older. I know I look different." But it's just a beautiful part of culture that also feels like so mean on the outside, but when you're in it, you're just like, this is love.
Well,
This
it
is love.
it's kind of funny because I was looking at. I do a little bit of scientific research on all the things that people mention, and and
Oh,
and every time I googled like why are certain nationalities rude or whatever or whatever, it kept coming back as
the police
honesty.
called.
No, no,
Uh,
it sort of kept pointing me back to, well, this is just honesty, which really
mm.
ties in with what you're saying. Like,
Do you think also as an although like you're Anglo, and I wonder if this is specifically an Anglo thing, but are Americans honest at all? Do you think Americans
um,
do this?
so here's where I can get offensive.
Yes.
Thank you for opening
Oh,
that door.
oh, go off, you
Uh,
offensive king.
so my dad hated America and Americans and things, all
Okay,
things
now it
American.
makes sense.
And which is kind of bizarro, but his reason for it was the dumbest thing. The first thing is when he came here one time, he saw a guy exit McDonald's, take a bite out of a burger, and then throw the rest of it in a bin, which to an English person would be like a sin. Like you just threw away edible food. You are a monster. So I get that one. I know
Wow. Okay.
I would be that as well. The one that he absolutely hated America for is he goes, why do Americans want to be liked? Which is like
Oh.
and he's like, they just want to be liked all the time. See, my dad, as much as he hated America and Americans, loved Australia. Like we were
Mm-hmm.
gonna emigrate there before I was born, but my mom effed it up. Blah 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 blah.
Because you guys
But
weren't criminals.
yeah, exactly. We
Mhm.
weren't. Yeah, we hadn't stolen anything.
Yeah.
But no. But the whole thing of liking Australians was because Aussies are like Cubans, right? They just don't give a like. I think Billy Connolly said like, you meet an Australian. They'll be like, "G'day, Billy. Is that the wife? Nice tits." And then just be like, "That's an Australian like greeting." And so I think your
Yeah,
Cuban
it's a
thing
greeting.
may just be like Americans are definitely raised to be like it's important to be liked, whereas I think culturally, I mean, it makes no sense, right? How can America be younger? It's we're all descended from the same like point in Africa or something according to genealogists. So, but
But culturally, it's a younger nation,
I see. I
you know?
really don't understand how it can be because it's all immigrants, right, and a very few natives left, sadly. But
Yeah.
but
No, that's
like
true.
America has definitely developed a thing, and maybe it's just the immigrant thing of like you got to be liked. It's really important to be liked, and I think
Yeah.
older cultures are like my dad told me my entire life, stop wanting people to like you and just do whatever the F you want, right? But with a social responsibility. He wasn't like, buy guns and deny science. Who cares? It was more like a stop wanting to be liked all the time. So I think it's not,
Yeah.
I think it might be a little rough to say Cubans are ruder, but I definitely think
No,
that
and
there's an
it's
American
interesting.
thing.
Yeah. And it's like it's complicated too because I don't think like because Cubans are warm people, like
Yeah,
they're not rude people, like
yeah,
they will talk to you about anything. It's just that they're just like, yeah, like you said, like the honesty to them isn't seen as being mean.
yeah.
And that's it's almost refreshing, when I am around Cuban people, like, or even like I went to Cuba as well a couple years ago for the first time, and talking to strangers, they would ask me if I was Spanish because I was speaking Spanish, and I would say, no, I'm American. And then they'd be like, but how do you know Spanish then? And I'd say, well, my mom is Cuban. And then they'd go, oh, well, why do you speak it so badly, actually? And so, and that felt like that was very, that's like very indicative of the whole thing. It's like, oh, well, oh, for that you're good. Okay, well, for this you're bad. If you're one of us, then you should be better. Like that felt very real.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, that's the what do we find funny list. So we're gonna end. I've run over a little bit here, but let's do this anyway. What the hell? Let's
God.
make it 35 minutes.
I just love to be crazy like that. And we're breaking boundaries. We're bending the rules.
For an English person, honestly, going 5 minutes over is almost a
Are
sin.
you sweating?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm like every pore of me is screaming, "You've done this wrong, Gary." But anyway, so let's talk about another couple of things. So the things that you find funny. You're like I said before, you're sort of accomplished artsy person with performance and now authoring and all this other stuff. So how have you? Give me a direct link between the things that you see and how you put it out there.
Wow. I guess like I'm realizing too, and a lot of what we talked about was like kind of mundane or making fun of people being put in situations that are uncomfortable or like trying to regulate their emotions. And I think that does come through in a lot of what I find funny, and then the kind of things that I find are interesting, and like my writing are a lot of times like it can be accused of being about nothing, because it just is kind of about characters doing things.
Yeah. So you like to put the characters in situations where they're forced to react even though they don't want to. Is that?
Yeah, and like when I started comedy too, it was all an improv and sketch, and a lot of the character work was just that. It was someone being put in a situation they weren't emotionally ready for, or something like that. Wow, I kind of sound so smart. Oh my God.
You are smart.
Someone should give me a
Walk
Nobel
away
Peace Prize.
with that. You are smart.
Yeah, I know.
So I sent you a relentless torrent of things that I thought, Stephanie will find these funny. So I'm interested because, we have to get it back to me here.
Absolutely.
The things that I sent you, and as a listener, you can go get these again at youthinkthat'sfunnypodcast.com. So one of the things that I found hilarious, there was a sketch show called Fast Show, and they used to do this thing. As a British tourist, you would go abroad to Spain normally, and the TV would be on in the bar, and you'd be sitting there. It's kind of like what was the Mexican thing that Americans always found hilarious? Like Sabador Gigante.
Sabador Gigante.
Yeah, and everyone looked. You couldn't not turn away from that. Like, what the hell why is he dressed as a zebra? Like, what the hell? And we would see these. We would see these when we were on holiday, and the Channel 9, the Fast Show, had this character called Mickey Disco, who is this like...
That was funny, yeah.
Yeah, did you find the Fast Show funny, or was it offensive? Because some people now...
Well, that is interesting, because when it started playing, or I played the Christmas one first, which the Mickey disco was more like immediately I could tell what was happening. But the other one, it reminded me of that lost comedic art of is it? It's not gibberish. It is shoot. I'm being a terrible comedy scholar because I'm forgetting what this is called. But it was a thing like they did at Second City a lot where you speak in gibberish like it's a different language, and it does feel like you can't really do that no more. So it was like, oh wow, this is a full sketch in that, and I was kind of wondering when it was made, or if I guess like a sensitivity toward a different language is different abroad, you know. And obviously, like I don't know much about European TV other than what Eurovision clips have shown me, which is like tacky Eastern Europeans. But I did think like, is this Italy or Spain that they're lampooning? It is okay.
Yeah, it's Spain. Yeah, Spain/Italy. Yeah, for sure.
I have to do Spanish sex scenes a lot at work, and I gotta tell you, from what I can see, Spanish TV's gotten a lot better. So I just want everyone out there to know that. Netflix has changed the game in Spain, apparently.
Let's do a couple more then before we wrap up. So what about the one I was sort of interested in was Upstart Crow, which is a David Mitchell thing. It was
Upstart Crow. Is that the Lovelorn Loon? Oh yes.
Yeah,
okay,
Shakespeare.
I see it now. Yeah, that was that had me laughing. That had me laughing about. Well, I almost thought they could have gone harder, which might be a difference in sketch approaches, because I thought the game of the scene was going to be him saying when Shakespeare was like, he's saying where is she, or no, she's saying why is she named Rosalind, and the other guy said no, he's asking where is she, and I'm like, oh my god, that'd be really funny, but they didn't keep going with it. Do also, I would say, like, Shakespeare being like the guy in English plays or whatever, is he made fun of constantly in English comedy?
Yeah, I mean there's a whole thing, I'll put the link there, Philomena Conk. Are you into Philomena Conk yet?
No.
Okay.
What?
It's a Charlie Brooker thing, and she is an interviewer / documentarian that is, I'll send you the links. Philomena Conk was, for me, the best comedy of the last 2 years. I mean, by far. And she does a whole program on Shakespeare, which I'll put the link there anyway. We will have to wrap up now, I think. So let's just whiz through them. Give me yes and no's, right? Give me yes and no's. French and Saunders.
Called Double Talk, that gibberish. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, Double Talk. French and Saunders, the Broadway audition clip.
Loved it.
Fry and Laurie, How to Be a Comedian.
Absolutely loved it. And I've seen so many things like it since, and it still made me laugh very hard.
Okay, good. Alrighty, so I did manage to read the room a little bit. Yay! Alrighty, well, I think at this point we are going to wrap up, and let's talk let's talk in a thorough manner, actually, about your book that just came out.
Oh, yes, it's my first novel, which I originally wrote as a screenplay and then realized that I didn't have any connections to the film industry, and I thought, what a fun experiment. This is basically an outline for a book, let me just translate it. And so I did, and it takes place in the Chicago stand-up comedy scene, but of course it was this book was actually written like 4 years ago, so things that are mentioned or places that are mentioned are probably not even there anymore. But the Lincoln Lodge is mentioned as a place where someone can try out new material and be a good comedian, so that's fun. But yeah, it's a comedian who's kind of at the end of the rope with their career, and they were in a relationship with a comedian who is now very famous, and so they're dealing with their own bitterness and trying to figure out like how to get past that and how to get beyond that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, it's sitting on my desk right now. I only just got the box this week, so bad host that I am. I didn't get to it yet, but it's. And
I will just say really quickly, I'm not going to say who, but because people have asked me, like, is this me? Is this based on me? Whatever. it is the germ of the idea is honestly based on an idea, a story that a friend of a friend told me when I did improv. Her friend dated someone who is now super famous, like voice of a generation famous, and he broke up with her. And that week, his breakthrough TV show was airing or something like that, and his face was in every subway. This is in New York City. And that image always stuck with me, of that thing of like someone dumps you and then the next day their face is literally on every you can't take the train without seeing that person. And also having a reminder of like their life is about to be so much different and you're not a part of it at all. And she told me this guy had like a lot of material about her mom and stuff, and was like pointing, and this guy is very famous, so when she was pointing it out, I was like, oh my god, that's about your mom, oh my god. So that is actually the germ of the idea. I don't want anyone to because people have been like, oh, this character is you or whatever. It's like, it's kind of a basis of like 5 different people that I've known in, you know, in comedy, but that was where the idea kind of took place, because I like couldn't get that experience out of my head, and I heard that story like 10 years ago now.
Okay.
So that girl can't tell her story now because I'm telling it. But
so, important technical point. What's the fastest way to get the book?
The fastest way, I mean, it is available on Amazon, or you can go to Weasel Press, which is the publisher's website, and get it. Okay. And then in Chicago, it's available at a couple places, but it's a very, very, very small press, so they don't have like a ton of distribution, so you're not going to find it at like a Borders right now. But my next one is going to be bigger.
Always going bigger. Alrighty, well, that was this week's show with Stephanie Weber. Thank you very much, Stephanie.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being had. My name's Mark Geary. You can go to YouThinkThat'sFunnyPodcast.com to get all the links of the stuff we talked about. And here we go with the outro. Cue jangly guitars and whatever we put on the end of it. Thank you very much.